Does it sound familiar, kids? It is I, and I am him. The evil conservative is back. And I told you I had a face for radio, can't you tell? But it's time to start telling it like it is, because it's just gotten way out of control, folks. I've been sidelined, if you will, for a while, taking it easy and taking care of business here in my own home state of West Virginia. But it's time to spread this around to everybody, because it's become, how can I say this correctly? A political plague, if you will. It's not just the liberals, it's not just Obama, it's all of them. The neocons, the demagogues, the liberals, they've all lost control. Actually, they're trying to gain more control as far as I see it. It's called destruction of the Constitution, which has been going on forever. If you believe in civil rights, you've seen what the National Defense Authorization Act has done and is doing, as far as just doing this right now could get me in trouble. But you know what? I'm willing to stick this. There's not much there, but I'm willing to stick that neck out there and see what they say. They can come and get me. I really don't give a crap. Especially Facebook, after what you did a couple days ago. I tried to go online, and my account is being, what was the word? Maintained or being maintenanced. Well, guess what? You can go and maintenance this video while it gets when it gets posted to my wall now, and see how you like that, you sorry pieces of crap. Mark Zuckerberg's shaking in his boots right now, probably. No, anyways. But get into what is really important, not me. I mean, you know, my personal vendettas can go to the side because there's more important things. We've got the Second Amendment to the Constitution, part of the original Bill of Rights. In that Bill of Rights, and that Second Amendment to the Constitution, it says that you are able to bear arms to defend yourself for your home and against a tyrannical government. Folks, have you all been watching the news lately? And I don't mean what the MSM, mainstream media crap, gives you. Yeah, they'll give you these sob stories about every time someone shoots a gun, an angel gets its wing. No, seriously though, they talk about gun control like it's the only way to save you. And then, of course, there's the mental midget that he is, Joe Biden. What was his idea? Get a shotgun. Get a shotgun. That'll protect you. Get a shotgun. Wow, so if I take a blast of a shotgun and shoot it, if it's a double barrel like Joe said, if I shoot it twice, well, I got a newsflash for you. If someone's trying to break in or attack you, and they've got more than just 2 shots, guess where you are? Yeah, that's right, screwed. So as far as these people that say, well, you shouldn't have 30-round clips or 10-round clips, some people even don't even want 7-round clips. In some states and cities, Chicago, you can't even legally own a gun. And yet some of those cities and states, Chicago, have the highest homicide rates in the United States, of any city in the United States. And then there's these, and I hope some of you that maybe aren't awake that are my friends will go on Facebook and other pages and see where there's at least 11 sheriff's deputies across the country who are defending or standing up with the Second Amendment of the Constitution. You know, there's a group that I was made aware of called Oath Keepers, and their intention is to keep the oath that they made. Part of the oath you make, whether it's in the military or wherever, your #1 oath is to defend at all times the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, #2, it does talk about the leader of the United States of America, Commander-in-Chief. But also, it also states in there, if I'm not mistaken, about not obeying commands that are against the laws. I'm not sure about that. I think it is. I could go to my crack staff here and see if they remember that, because they took a military oath. Anyways, some of you out there probably did, and you can clarify it, and I'm sure some of you will.
To defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic enemies.
Enemies. So if someone is against the Constitution, then they would be an enemy of the Constitution. Kind of like our emperor. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Barack Obama. He puts himself in so many different places, and I know some of you are Barry fans, Barack Obama fans, or whatever his name is now. First of all, you can't tell whether his Social Security card, birth certificate, or registration is legit. Okay? And I know people say, well, that's a non-issue. Well, that might be a non-issue to you, but for me, that's a pretty big issue, because if I try to take a fake fake social security card or registration to get a job or to get any kind of help, not that I need any help right now, thankfully, but if someone wants to get assistance, and I'm not saying assistance is bad, some of you disagree with it entirely, I think some of it is okay, you can't do it without a legitimate social security card, selective service registration, and then on top of it, and something that people don't realize now, good old Barack Obama and the Congress are passing legislation to bring back, yeah, that's right, basically they're bringing back the draft. From 18 to 25, people are going to have to work for the government, or do government community service, I guess, if that's the best way to call it, from what I understand from some of the legislation. Now, all of this is happening, folks. Meanwhile, we have this stuff called sequestration, or not balancing or not having a budget, basically, is what it boils down to. I'm not a big fan of the fancy words, but basically, it's saying that they're too inept or too incompetent to balance a budget or to make a budget. Now, I don't know about you folks out there in Facebook land or wherever you may be right now watching this. Like, who is this nut? But you probably have a budget you have to go by. I know me and my lovely wife, we have to go by a budget. And I know she's always kicking my butt for getting out of it. But anyway, that's another story for another day. You have a budget you have to maintain, or at least maintain within reason. But the government doesn't have to do that. You see, they have this little group called the Federal Reserve, and I know I'm going off on a tangent today, and you know what? It's called Evil Conservative Go Off on a Tangent Day because Facebook done messed with me, okay? So just sit back and enjoy, or just click next if you need to, because I'm going off on all these mofos. Anyways, let me straighten myself out here. The Federal Reserve, another piece of crap idea back from 1913. Let's make money from nothing. You know, there's a song called Money for Nothing by Dire Straits from back in the 80s, but even then the guys had to sing and play a guitar to get their money. The Federal Reserve, good old Benny Bernanke and the boys, well heck, let's just make money from nothing. You know what, I think that, since it's good enough for the government, maybe we should be able to make our own money.
Yeah.
You can go down to Kinko's or the copy places and just copy $10, $20 bills and, just make our own money.
Yeah.
Or, now see, when we do it, it's called counterfeiting. It's illegal. But when they do it, it's called stimulus. There we go. That's what they call it, a stimulus. Well, I don't know who they're trying to stimulate, but from what I've seen, the only stimulation going on is the stimulation of prices, or as we like to say, those that are what I call Ron Paul people, inflation. Let's see, about 4 years ago, a gallon of milk, I would say, went anywhere between $1.90 to maybe $2.10 a gallon, maybe, I'm not sure. But I do know now, if you go to buy a gallon of milk at a regular grocery store, it's going to cost you around $4 a gallon. $4 a gallon. Now, yesterday, yours truly had to go get himself some gasoline. Yeah, it ain't no sunshine and rainbows, kids, let me tell you. Here in the, I'll call it the suburbia Washington, D.C. area, which technically I'm really outside of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. I'm kind of more like in West Virginia, thank God. It's $3.99 a gallon where I'm at. So, I don't know what you're suffering with out there, but hey, my prayers and thoughts go with you, because I know it's painful, whatever it may be, I'm sure. But as I go here and look through from a lot of my friends, and a big shout out to all my Facebook friends, especially those who are liberty-minded and awake like myself, and a big shout out to those who may not be awake yet and think, I know this guy and he's always talking, why is he doing this? It's very important, folks. The things that we're seeing are not only things that are happening to our country, they're happening across the world. Do you realize there's only one country that doesn't have a gun ban? Or to the best of my knowledge, there's only one, and that's the United States of America. But now, because our fearless leader, or emperor as he wishes he was, and he actually said that if you Google it, or actually he had a Google press conference with a bunch of kids throwing him softballs, basically, and one of his comments was, Well, you know, my job as President of the United States, I have to do what's within the Constitution. He said, I can't be emperor or something. You know, he said he wanted to be emperor, basically. And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to follow the letter of the law of the land to his advantage. If you notice, there's a lot of things called executive orders that have been coming out lately. And I know George Bush was bad about this too, but in comparison, I think George Bush in his 8 years signed about 45 executive orders. Barack Obama is just beginning his second term and has signed over 500 executive orders. Yeah. Why? Because we don't want his crap. And there's another thing about, speaking of crap, Congress and Senate. What are you doing, congressmen and senators? I've only seen one congressman that made, senator. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. And I'm not his biggest fan because I feel like he's a miserable butthead for stabbing his dad in the back in the last election. But you know, time has moved on. You know, feelings are a little less mean. Rand is starting to get his head out of his posterior. Head out of his ass. Anyways, he said, and he made a very good point, clean it out. Clean out both the House and Senate. If they're not going to balance a budget, if they're not going to stay within the laws of the land and the Constitution, get to stepping. Step out. Put people in there that aren't bought by the lobbyists, by the money grabbers, by... what's a word I'm looking for? Illuminati? Yeah, I'm using that word too. Guarantee you this video probably won't last very long because it's not exactly politically correct. But as I've said many times, and I'll say many times more, that is why I am the evil conservative. Some people say, well, you're an anarchist because you're only about the Constitution. Well, I don't know if I'm an anarchist or a conservative. I consider myself a very, very, very ultra-conservative. I think Rush Limbaugh is a wimp. You know, I think he's soft. Bill O'Reilly, he's all about selling his books about when he was going to Catholic school. The left-wingers, Chris Matthews is just a complete imbecile. You know, I wouldn't waste a bullet on him. That's how bad he is. Rachel Maddow, well, yeah, I'm sure she's really popular with her friends at the Rainbow Bars. But anyway, and if that's the way you swing, hey, that's the way you swing. But personally, I don't swing that way. I've got a beautiful, lovely wife that I'm very much proud of and love with all my heart. And that's my personal note of the night. Back to what we're talking about as far as a country, and that's what we need to do. I have friends out there that don't agree with me about religion, that don't agree with me about immigration, about other things, but we agree on one thing, and it's the most important thing, and that's we need to go back to the Constitution of the forefathers. Not the one they did after the Civil War, the one before the forefathers. We need to stop the oppression of people, which is happening whether we believe it or not. It's kind of like systematic oppression or soft oppression. They're not directly putting a gun to your head or whipping you with a whip, but when you go buy groceries and you go get gasoline and you do other things, you're being oppressed because you're dealing with this thing called inflation, and the federal government is the one that is the ringleader, if you will. I mean, they talked about when I was a young kid, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, and my father was an auto worker. One of the things the auto workers and other unions had to deal with was the mob. And the mob was a very strong influence on some, and I'm not saying the auto workers, but other unions, they were a big influence. The mob is still around to a certain extent today, but let me tell you something, the mob ain't got shit on the federal government. The federal government is the worst thing the mob could ever dream of being. And it's just totally oppressive. I saw today, and I was not able to do so because I'm like 500-600 miles away from our state capital, where there was a National Resistance Day. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this today too, is to show people, do this at your home. If you have the capacity, do a video. Post it on Facebook. Let Facebook know. Let the world know. Let your friends know. You know, some of us have friends that aren't awake and they may think, wow, this is really nuts. But then again, they may think, hey, I know this guy. I know he's a hard-working guy. I know he's an honest guy. This must mean something for him to get on here and talk about this. And for those of you that are my friends that are Christians, you know what's coming. You've read the book of Revelation. You've heard about a one-world government. a one world religion. You've heard about the mark of the beast. Now, if you look at Obamacare at page 1000, it talks about an RFID chip. They want to put a chip in your body so they can know everything about you from the time you were born to what age you are now. From what I understand, from what I've read, and I've read on my own, in books, magazines, and the internet, I don't watch the national news because to me it's just a joke. I call it the MSM or LSM, mainstream media or lamestream media. Anyways, I won't get into that whole spiel. I'll be here forever. That'll be the next show, LSM and MSM. Anyways, educate yourself, enlighten yourself, be aware of what's going on in our society. Yep, that's my killer cat there. He's our watch cat there. And make sure you know what's going on. Look at it for yourself. Be alert and be awake. I'm laughing because the cat is attacking our camera person here. It's like, oh my God, you got her that. Anyways, we keep it real here. It's okay. Stop it, Max. Behave. I know you're upset too. I'd be pissed off too, and I know you are. So
yeah, cat food went up.
Yeah, cat food prices went up too, damn it. Anyways. Yes, we try to make light, not to make light of what the dire situation is, but, you know, you can either cry or laugh, and I choose to laugh. And I also choose to let other people know that there are those of us out here that are not afraid. Yeah, it's intimidating, but I tell you, when you start messing with stuff that I'm doing, when you start maintaining my accounts or going into my personal business, and by the way, folks, remember when the king was giving his beautiful State of the Union speech about how great everything was going to be, sunshine and rainbows and a lollipop for every kid, or whatever the crap he was talking about. Socialized medicine, socialism, socialism, rah, rah, rah. Well, guess what? He was trying to pass CISPA, which basically means, to break it down generally for you, they can go into your email, they can go on your Facebook account, they can go into your cell phone usage. Did you know that you have a cell phone? Whenever you have one of these things, I never get where I put mine. They can track you down from the satellites from the companies. They can also wiretap. You know, it's funny. All these liberals they were talking about Watergate. This was back when I was a really young kid, and I had to read about it. But the old wiretaping from good old Dickie Nixon, Richard Nixon, and his group, and what they did. Heck, what they did is like doesn't even compare to what Obama and the federal government are trying to do now, which to me is just complete and total oppression. But anyways, tell me what you think. I am going to post this on my page, if it's allowed to stay on there. And the evil conservative is back, and he's on the attack. Facebook, you started it. I'm going to finish it. And I will leave you with these thoughts from myself. Anyone who ever listened to the Evil Conservative on Blog Talk Radio knew what this sound was. It's the Liberty Bell. It's the new Liberty Bell. I do not own the copyrights to this Metallica, so if you want to sue the crap out of me, I understand. But it is for whom the bell tolls. Who does it toll for? It tolls for you, demagogues, you, neocons, you liberals, and anyone else who stands against the Constitution. This bell is tolling for you because it's very soon you are going down. I'm Evil Conservative, and I'm out.